Hey guys, what is going on? Andrew here, back with another update on, well, let's just call it the wild fish tank now, because, it was supposed to be a holding tank. It was supposed to be a place where I would put my future food that I catch, so it could detoxify and I could identify if it was diseased before I eat it, but now it's this. And I kind of like this. But those of you who have been following the progress of this will notice a number of things that are different. So, my friend and I went out to the fishing spot where I catch all the little buddies that become part of this here aquarium. And we got a few new things. Now, we actually have new additions to the tank. So that is a black-striped top minnow. He's been with me for a while. That's the red-eared sunfish. They've been with me for a while. That's the banded killifish. Been with me for a while. But this is a new type of fish. It's not a black-striped top minnow. You could tell by the tail. There's actually another name for it. Shoot. I can't quite remember the name at the moment. We caught a few of these little guys, and there is another black-striped top minnow. I believe that's what this is up here, which is nice, but it's very, very young. Definitely not big enough to be part of all this. He's just going to get eaten if that was the case. Now, as comes with the territory of getting fish from the wild, a lot of them are just emaciated, starving. They could be diseased. They have problems. Their immune systems could be shot. The water they come from is terrible. I've measured the water. And because of that, we find a few fish that are on their last leg. And we do bring them in to try and help them. This is the hard part. These guys, like this guy right here, is not doing so hot. We just got him from the lake, but it's important to understand that this is the condition we found the little guy in, which is really a bummer. This guy's chances of survival in the wild were guaranteed to be nil, zip, zilch, nada. So we acclimate them to this tank, put them in a breeder net, so that they're not antagonized, and give them a chance to try and rebound. He's trying hard, but it doesn't look good for this little guy right here, which is really unfortunate. And over here we have a very unfortunate result. This guy, we didn't identify what type of fish he was, but he was just so far gone when we got him. He was missing an eye. And we decided we would try anyway and see what we could do. Sadly, it's been a few hours now. He has passed away. And that is unfortunate because I don't have this species in the tank that I know of. This is something I haven't identified. We gave him a good shot, but he was pretty hurting when we found him in the water. You got to remember, a lot of these fish that we get come to me in pretty banged up condition. For instance, this guy was missing most of his tail when we got him. His dorsal fin was damaged. You can see the little white spot. But given the proper conditions, they can recover. And a lot of them do. But there are unfortunate circumstances for a lot of these fish because they're from the wild. You know, other fish are trying to hunt them and eat them, and a lot of times that's what happens. That's why they get partially damaged. That's why we find them on the shoreline, where they're almost dead anyway. But because I do love having little fish buddies, I try to give them a last chance. See what I could do for them. Doesn't always work out. However, it's not all bad and heartbreak. The ones that do survive become part of the community wild tank. These fish normally in the wild wouldn't convene together, but in an artificial setting, they do very well. They don't antagonize each other. They do pretty good. We do have a round goby, which is a very controversial thing for me to even accept. My friend caught it. He wasn't sure what it was. When he brought it to me, I knew what it was. I'm like, ah, crap. Because I do believe these guys, according to the DNR, are kill on sight, which is not good. Round gobies are extremely invasive. Hey, get up here. Are extremely invasive. But they do good in aquariums. So, technically speaking, I'm supposed to kill this fish. Just by catching him. I'm supposed to. I'm going to talk to the DNR about it and see if they're okay with it. Ultimately, it's not my decision. That's another kind of heartbreaking thing about this, is you can find the fish, you can catch them, you can revive them, and they can recover. And they can do so well in this aquarium because the water is clean, purified, aerated, sterilized. But then you have to check the legality of the situation. That's very important. Because, for instance, my rusty crayfish, who's hiding in his little crayfish hole, we have a little rusty right here. These are no possession fish. The law states you cannot possess them for any reason. But I talked to the conservation officers that work in my region. They talked it over amongst themselves, and they gave me the go-ahead, but with very, very strict guidelines. And I uphold those guidelines as best as I can. I don't break them, because that's a lot of trust for an officer to give to just some dude. And I've talked to these officers over the course of, several years here and there, and they're good people. I can't stress enough how incredibly informative and nice these officers are for even giving me the time of day to even talk to me about the situation or even consider it. They do so much. If you look up what a conservation officer has to deal with, it is so far left field for most people. It's very hard to become a conservation officer. I've got the utmost respect for them, and I could never do what they do. It's so difficult. But that being said, I have a profound respect for them. I don't want to do anything that will upset them. I've had times where I caught, let's say, I caught a female rusty crayfish. She had a bunch of eggs under her swimmerettes. I had to call them. I called them up, told them the situation. I asked, is it even okay for me to keep it like this? They talked it amongst themselves, and they said, no, because it's going to look like as if I'm trying to breed an invasive species. And, that just doesn't look good. It's not a good idea. So I had to terminate the crayfish. I had to do it. And that's the reality of it. I'm an aquarist and an angler, a bait wrangler, whatever you want to call it. That's the thing about wild tanks. But it can be done. It can be done within the confines of the law. You do need to ask your conservation officers. I just want to bring that up. Now, moving away from the grim side of things for a moment here, you'll notice plants. Haha, I have some. These were plucked out of the water where I got the fish. As you might know, the substrate are all rocks right at the shoreline that I gathered where I got these fish. And they seem to be enjoying the plant, which is nice. I got some wood. I found a stick that was there, and I'm letting it waterlog. So I'll have a piece of, I guess, driftwood, I guess you would call it, in the tank. And actually, when you sit back, the tank is starting to come together. I don't know what those plants are. I don't know anything about them. I just saw them and I'm like, they'll look good in the tank. Now, one other thing I need to talk about is the sterilizer. Damn thing went bad on me. So I gotta get a new UV sterilizer. Super important because these are wild fish. Who knows what they could be carrying with them. But there's a reason why they have their own tank, and they don't intercommingle with any of my other fishy buddies. So, that is the big update on this tank in particular. It's actually starting to come together. All of it is 100% natural, 100% from the wild, and they are doing super great, well, most of them. That guy up there might or might not make it. That guy up there sadly passed away. That one in there is way too small to survive in this tank without being eaten by the sunfish. So, yeah, wild tanks. It is a wild ride. Not for everyone, not for the faint of heart, but it's so much more of a satisfying feeling. It really is.